I'm just letting this play today a little bit.
Lazy Saturdays.
There you go. Good morning and welcome to Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. Now your host of Nature Watch, Gary Miller. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Hey, Sarah can just keep feeding me a forecast like that forever and ever. And
actually, next week it's going to warm up. By the next weekend, looks like we maybe a couple of days before, even near 60 or in the 60s. And then it drops again.
I saw chasing 70 next Friday.
Yeah, so we'll see. Depends on that's out of ways. But the following week, the jet stream drops back down and we're in the 40s, maybe near 50, but still warmer than we've been. So it's warming up.
That is actually right on target pretty much, maybe even a little bit warmer.
Yeah, so Sarah actually had earlier, I was watching her forecast, and she actually had a little chart there. In Kalamazoo, the average first 60-degree day is March 8th, which would be tomorrow. So a little behind schedule. The average first 70-degree day is March 31st. So we'll see how that tracks. Yeah. We might be early for that one.
I won't complain.
And so right now, by next weekend, the average high temperatures are 44 degrees historically.
Yeah.
So we're warming up. A couple of weeks later, the average high is 51, and then we get up to 58 a couple of weeks later. So
I am going to assume, hopefully, that that we're done with the stuff that you have to shovel. I'm hoping.
One would hope so. We're ready.
Right. Now, I did see some prognostications from a few weather sources that March and into April, the rest of the month into April is going to be wetter than normal, and that's good news because we are still dry.
Yeah, so
we are.
Sarah actually had this morning too. She was talking about the drought monitor a little bit, and she said. So the drought monitor that goes Tuesday through Tuesday, Wednesday through Tuesday, and so the usually gets released on Thursday. So the rain we had Wednesday this week is not on the drought monitor right now. Next week we should see some little change in that a little bit. So maybe it'll start getting improving a little bit and not be quite as dry.
Right.
One would hope.
Right.
But this next week looks fairly dry, so we might not change a whole lot.
Well, it'd be a good week to get out and clean up the yard.
Yeah, so if anybody
do a little spring cleaning out in the yard.
Yeah, you don't want to clean up too early in some of those beds because you got beneficial insects that overwinter in those and that leaf litter and that. So usually you want to wait till you have a good week plus that's 40, 45 degrees or warmer. Usually closer to 50 even is better. So after this week. Might be a good time to, and it's going to get cool, but after this week, might have those beneficials out.
Okay.
But the following week, they'll be a little cold.
Then just ignore what I said. Okay. He knows his stuff. I'm just saying.
So we'll see. So tonight we lose an hour of sleep because daylight savings time starts at 2 a.m.
That's okay. I'll take the later sunsets.
Yes, it'd be nice. I was almost near 8 o'clock for sunsets. I was looking at the forecast. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're going to dive back into 8 a.m. sunrises for a very short term, but this time of year everything changes quickly.
So this last week, I actually saw blue heron wading in the water. One of the first ones I've seen. Some of them tend to stick around sometimes in some of those warmer bodies of water, but most of them fly south a little ways. Actually saw several red-winged blackbirds. And I always think of red-winged blackbirds as being sort of those precursors of, hey, spring's here because we're here, we're going to start building nests, we're going to sing our hearts out, a lot of times sitting on cattails. And so having seen a couple of them, maybe that's a good news. We have warm weather coming up next week, and Joe Johnson, when he was at the bird sanctuary and he was still alive, he always used to say, don't watch for robins in the spring, watch for turkey vultures. They don't have feathers on their head, and those bare heads, they don't like getting them cold. So usually if you see turkey vultures, it's going to stay warm.
Oh.
Once in a while they get caught a little bit, but usually it's on that warming trend. And so I was actually looking up a little bit. Next Saturday, the 15th, is Buzzards Day in Cleveland. Buzzards is a common term for turkey vultures. If you go into Europe, you mention buzzards, most people there are going to think of hawks. But here people think of turkey vultures. And historically, for the more than 60 years, the turkey vultures have returned to Cleveland on March 15th, right to the day. And so they have a festival for that. So they actually call it Buzzards Day. Out in California, they got the swallows that return at San Juan Capistrano. Big deal with that. That's usually towards the end of the month, about 31st, I believe.
And that's when car washes
Or 19th,
start seeing.
19th,
That's
yeah.
when car washes start seeing an uptick in business.
Yes. Yeah. So the 19th of March is typically the return of the swallows to San Juan Capistrano. We have a much bigger bird here in the Midwest. We celebrate turkey vultures.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is why I come to work every Saturday morning. I learn things.
Interesting thing.
I'm just saying.
Actually, in the news this morning, they were talking about some non-native wildlife. I see John Ball Zoo has a pair of lions that they have there, so that'd be pretty cool to see. And Detroit Zoo had a penguin chick. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. They named the penguin chick Atticus. And my first thought was that should be a chick of a goldfinch family or something. Atticus finch. Mm-hmm. Just to mention another bird, mockingbird or something there.
Sarah Flynn just put us in a great mood because the weather's going to be fabulous all weekend long. A little cool today, but you can't complain about tomorrow or into next week. So let's celebrate. Well, this is the line I'm using. Let's celebrate by giving away a $20 gift card to Waddell's for our trivia question today.
Yeah, and actually, this one might be fairly easy. It's not a real specific answer, but it's fairly specific. So when people go south for the wintertime, we call them snowbirds. Mm-hmm. So dark-eyed juncos are typically called snowbirds. Why are they called snowbirds?
Say what?
So why are dark-eyed juncos, why are they called snowbirds? That's my question for today.
Dark-eyed.
Jim's rolling his eyes now.
I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm about ready to fall over.
So,
269-382-4280. Google away because I would have to. If you can figure this one out, give us a call and you might win a $20 gift card.
Yep. So there's a lot of juncos around. So we always commonly call them snowbirds. And why do we call them snowbirds? I was looking at the migration charts. The ruby-throated hummingbirds are still down along the Gulf of Mexico coast, and in Florida, maybe moved a touch north in the last week or so, but there seem to be more of them sighted. So the population's sort of gathering there ready to get moving north. We typically see them here about mid-April.
Okay.
So last year they arrived in Michigan, lower Michigan here, somewhere between about the 12th and 14th of April.
Oh, okay. Good morning. I'm gonna cut in on you.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, WKZO. Who's this?
This is Phyllis.
Phyllis. Good morning.
Good morning. Beautiful morning.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes. Just
Sunshine.
Just if you step outside, be careful because there are a couple of slick spots.
You do want to walk like a penguin out there this morning because of the ice.
There you go. Okay, trivia question again, Gary. Remind me.
Yeah, so why are dark-eyed juncos called snowbirds?
And Phyllis?
They actually are a northern bird. I think they live up in the northern areas, and they will leave us very soon.
Yes, actually, you're correct. So they come south, and typically they're called snowbirds because when they arrive, they typically coincide with our winter weather here, i.e., they bring the snow with them from up north. So that's why they're called snowbirds.
I did not know that.
And
Phyllis.
so usually they travel in flocks of like 15 to 25, and there are some that nest around here. They nest on the ground. So when you're walking around, watch for those bird nests on the ground. But most of them do fly up farther north, and they do come south. So they go south for the winter too, but they don't go as far south as the human snowbirds do.
Do you mean the junco actually nests here around us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Say it again, Phyllis.
Do they actually nest around this area?
There are a few that nest here because they're a year-round population here. We usually don't see them very much in the summertime. They're sort of a non-distinct. You really don't see them too much. You don't pay much attention to them. We really see them in the wintertime. And
In the summer, I only see them wintertime.
yeah, most people don't see them in the summertime. They usually see them when they're around those feeders and that. And they're usually one of the first birds right after the chickadees that come to those feeders.
Hey, there you go. Phyllis, you are our winner of a $20 gift card to Waddell's. Can you hold on the line for just a moment? I need to
Yes, I sure can.
Excellent. I need to get some information from you, so I'll put you on hold, and we will pause for this. We'll be back in about 70 seconds or so right here on Nature Watch on WKZO.
Do you have spring fever? Here's the prescription to cure it. Come browse the seed section at Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center and start planning your 2025 vegetable and flower gardens. Waddell's experts are always available with advice and ideas to help you have garden success this season. Waddell's has the best selection of vegetable and flower seeds, and they're all 20% off right now, including Heart Seeds, Seed Savers Exchange, Botanical Interests, Burpee, and more, many of which can soon be planted indoors. To give your seeds the best start possible, Waddell's carries Dairy Dew organic soil made right here in Michigan. Also this week, choose from 4 sizes of Jiffy greenhouse kits that include trays, Jiffy pots, and humidity domes, and are also 20% off. You'll find other items on sale this week at Waddell's like Jiffy peat pellets, Jiffy self-watering greenhouse kits, and Miracle LED light bulbs. Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center, located on Texas Drive at the corner of Millam and 12th Streets.
You asked for it, and we deliver more local news than ever before on 590 and 106.9 FM, WKZO.
844, Phyllis from Pawpaw, our big winner of a $20 gift card to Waddell's as Nature Watch continues with Gary Miller.
Yeah, so actually Phyllis was actually correct. In this specific area, juncos typically don't nest. I had to check that for sure. From about mid-state north, they do nest, and actually there's some areas south of here in the Appalachians, some of the upper elevations of the Appalachians that they nest. But right here, specifically in southwestern Michigan, they typically don't nest very much. So they might have an odd one here and there. But if you go, Lansing, Midland, and north, you'll see them nesting, and you see them year-round there.
Oh, okay.
So I had a little email from the National Audubon Society this week, and they were talking a little bit about World Water Day is coming up soon. But there's also had a little notice about the avian flu, safety notice. And they said, we recommend observing birds in yards and at bird feeders at a safe distance and checking regularly whether your local, state, or federal wildlife agencies are recommending that wild bird feeders be taken down. If at least one of your local agencies indicates to take down feeders, we recommend removing them. In the meantime, we suggest following the recommendations of the CDC and other regional health authorities to follow general guidelines like avoiding touching dead birds. And so right now in Michigan, they're not recommending taking feeders down unless you have a backyard poultry flock. Then they recommend that you do that just to avoid attracting more birds to the area. But if you don't have a backyard flock of chickens or other poultry, then they say it's fine to keep your feeders up. They do recommend cleaning them. And actually, that's the same guidelines that the state has put out as far as don't touch dead birds unless you have protective gear on.
Oh, okay.
And then sanitize thoroughly afterwards.
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna see more and more of that with the flu, because I got a couple notices this week from the state that they detected avian flu and a couple more small backyard flocks. With the bird migration, we'll probably see more of it.
Right.
And so it keeps spreading.
This story is not going to go away anytime soon, folks.
No, it is not.
If you want to join in, any questions about the avian flu or anything about birds or anything nature, give us a call here, 269-382-4280. Or if you don't want to talk to either of us, you can text us at 80373, and I will read the question to Gary.
Yeah, so actually, I got a little question to throw out to everybody. I saw our winner last week. I saw Gay Tuesday night at the Calhoun County Master Gardeners, and she asked me a question. She said, we have some small, dark birds, very small birds, that come to our feeders at night, and they trigger our motion detector lights. What kind of birds are they? And my response was, just to thinking that, small birds coming to a feeder, probably it's a combination of chickadees and juncos and titmice, because they typically flock together in the wintertime. And I was looking up a little information. There's not a lot of information out there. There's not a lot of night feeders because they try to avoid predators, and they can't see the perches, etc., on the birds that typically feed during the day. Can't see the bird feeders in that. There are a few birds that actually do feed on bird feeders at night. House sparrows is one, so that would be a small bird. But I got to thinking, I'm wondering if the birds have learned a little bit of different way to get some light on those bird feeders, and so they're actually specifically and purposely triggering those motion detector lights so they have light so they can see the feeders. Just a thought.
Okay.
There isn't a lot of information out there, so if you've observed that or you haven't have the answer to that, give us a call or text us. I'm curious because there's not a lot out there on that. But I'm just got to thinking maybe the birds have changed their behavior a little bit.
I don't have a prize for this. I could give you like 64 cents out of my pocket, but that's about it.
This is one of those curiosity asks. We want to know. Something neat to look at and think about. If anybody else has observed that in their yard too, I'd like to know too. It's I'm curious. I don't know.
And if you don't want to text it to us now, or if you don't want to call us now, you can email Gary at
naturewatch@wadells.com.
That is a 24/7 operation, by the way.
A few other things on the juncos. Besides that migratory coming down south from much farther north for the most part, and I mentioned it sort of correlates with the arrival of an onset of winter when they come down here. They seem to bring that snow with them. And one of the comments I saw in one of the articles about why they were called snowbirds is that because they're usually have that white breast that reminiscent of snow, and their backs are very dark, so it looks like those dark clouds of snow-laden clouds in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
there you go. A few other things coming up this next week. The total lunar eclipse, Thursday night, Friday morning. We might be good for weather. We'll see if it holds. Might be partly cloudy, but we still may have some clear skies. Check out the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society, KAS, online, and they have the times that they will be set up at the Nature Center. So if you want to go out and see that, I believe they're set up from 11 p.m. till 5 or 6 a.m. So 11 p.m. Thursday night to 5 or 6 a.m. Friday. Mm-hmm. So you need to besides losing the hour tonight, take some naps Thursday, plan on some naps Friday, and then lose some sleep Thursday night so you can see the lunar eclipse.
Well, there were suggestions that, to start adjusting your sleep schedule as of last night just to, for the hour. I've never done that. I just fly by the seat of my pants, And I have Monday completely off. Well, I'll be here for a little bit Monday, but outside of that, I'm off for the most part Monday, so I have another day to recover, I guess.
So on Wednesday, the 12th, the Kellogg Bird Sanctuary has another Birds and Online Coffee Chat, and that's 10 to 11 a.m. It's a Zoom link. You need to register ahead of time, so you get that link. They're going to be talking this month about thinking spring and preparing for nesting season. So we're starting to see those birds, some of those birds that stick around here, like some of the bluebirds that tend to overwinter here, they're thinking about starting to build nests anytime now. So you need to make sure that those bird houses are ready. If you need new bird houses, come into Wadells and see how the big selection we have, and get those new bird houses up there so they're ready to go, because before we know it, those birds are going to be coming through here migrating, and they're going to start, as soon as they get here, start building nests. Most times they takes a few days to a couple of weeks for them to build nests. Depends on the type of bird. If they're using a bird house or so that they're nesting in that, they need to get all their materials in there and get their nest lined up before they start laying the eggs in there. Some birds don't take very long at all to build a nest, and that would be primarily the mourning dove. They might take 2 hours to build a nest, and that's it.
Yeah.
They basically get a semblance of small twigs, maybe a little bit of grass, but usually more twigs than that, maybe a little bit of grass to soften it. And they basically sort of pile them in a pile, sort of flat pile, maybe a little depression in the center, and they call it a nest. And that's why a lot of times mourning doves will sometimes have their eggs roll out of the nest because the nest is so loosely constructed. And they can sometimes have 4 or 5 broods all season long. They will build a new nest typically for each brood, and I can understand why, because the first one usually falls apart or falls out of the tree with the first thunderstorm, wind storm that we get. So very, very sloppy nests. I know in my yard they typically use hawthorn with those thorns on there to help hold the nest together so it sticks together a little bit better. But they are still very loose, sloppy nests. Also coming up, check out the Kellogg Bird Sanctuary, and they have field ornithology classes coming up, and there's a way to actually take those classes, at least the lecture portions, via Zoom, and so you don't have to leave the house. But they have some field trips planned too. So if you want to do the full class or in person, so they check out the Kellogg Bird Sanctuary for that.
Okay.
The next weekend, Michigan Maple Syrup Association is their Michigan Maple Weekend for here in southern Michigan. And there's 3 different weekends. It keeps moving farther north. The 22nd and 23rd, it's in northern lower Michigan, and then the April 5th and 6th is in the upper Michigan. Actually have a local sugar shack that actually participates with that Butternut Creek Sugar Shack down between Vicksburg and Mendon. It's a Mendon address. And actually, if you go to the Michigan Maple Syrup Association, they have all the locations of those. They have a open house on those, usually Saturday, Sunday. A lot of times they have a free pancake breakfast. They just ask for donations. And you get to sample some maple syrup and get to see get all their products in that. Neat family-run operation. They're actually, I could just about, if I could see through all the woods in that, just about see them. They're about 2 miles as the crow flies from my house, but all the woods between us and them, they're a little farther away from my house. And actually to get there via road takes about 4.5 miles.
Oh, okay.
But, just a nice local family operation. So something neat to do next weekend. It's always fun to go check that out. The following weekend, Waddell's has their 30th annual Spring Garden Show, sometimes commonly called our Expo. And check out the website on that, or stop in and get the schedule. But the schedule of all the classes, seminars is out there. There's a little difference on how many classes there are. Like one of our postings had 21 classes. I think our website says 23. I actually counted up they added a few more after they put that on the website, because there's 24 sessions between Friday and Saturday. All sorts of topics, including a lot of some involving birds in that. So, or using native plants in your landscape. So, some neat things that would be interesting for the folks out there. And they're inexpensive, $6 per class, 2 of them for $10. If you want to get a day pass, $15 for each day, Friday or Saturday. If you do both days, it's $25. However many you want to take.
Wow.
So
Okay.
really, it just takes some time. It's fun to see. You get to see some spring flowers blooming. We got all sorts of neat displays in the greenhouse. Usually have some fantastic deals from some of our vendors, getting ready for some of those spring activities. And but just fun to get that touch of spring. Hopefully we have a little bit of sunshine, so it makes it even more spring-like.
Now, this is your Christmas time pretty much, isn't it? Business is ramping up.
Oh, yeah. It's been ramping up. They've had seeds in there. They're getting stocked up for spring, because usually right after the Spring Garden Show, unless the weather takes a big backward step, we're getting up and running pretty quick. In the next couple of weeks after that, it's starting to go pretty gangbusters. So and it keeps going through the next couple of months after that. Everybody's getting ready, starts working in their yard, getting things planted, and so a lot of neat things. The birds, keep feeding those birds. I find my notes here. So actually, I had somebody ask me in the last week or so about peanuts for birds.
It's ironic. I just bought some peanuts for me. Yes, last night.
So those peanuts are for you. You don't want to feed those to the birds.
Okay. All right.
So peanuts in the shell or shelled peanuts for birds. Well, you can feed both. So some of the larger birds, like blue jays, some of the red-bellied woodpeckers, they will eat peanuts in the shell. They'll store them that way sometimes, because they store them in cached food. Shelled peanuts are actually better for some of those small birds. So even the small birds like chickadees, titmice, nuthatches, some of the smaller woodpeckers like downies, they will feed on those shelled peanuts. And one of the questions that I had seen people have asked was, are roasted peanuts safe for birds? Unsalted roasted peanuts. You really want to purchase peanuts that are raw, specifically for birds. Anything with the roasting in that may have some oils or something that are involved with it, and that can affect the birds. They don't want any salt. They can't metabolize that salt, so you don't want any salt on there. And the opposite, are those peanuts for birds safe for us to eat? Well, I suppose you could eat them, but their processing is a lot different than what they process peanuts for human food. So I suppose you could eat them, but you might not want to eat them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But get some peanuts. The Elite Mix that we have at Waddell's has some peanuts in it, and I know the birds love those, and they find them in my bird feed. So,
Oh, there you go.
but good source of extra energy and protein for the birds. Actually helps keep them nice and warm, and when it gets cold out, they actually go for those peanuts specifically.
Okay.
And even when it gets warmer here, we're going to have migrating birds, so keep those feeders active because they'll need that extra energy, especially those birds that continue flying further north. We got a lot of those birds that come through.
Yeah. Okay. Quickly, did you check the hummingbird status? I know we're still a month and a half away.
Yeah, so I actually mentioned
at
that
least.
earlier. So
I think I missed that.
So they're in Florida, along the Gulf of Mexico coast.
Okay.
They've maybe touched a little bit further north. There's more of them being sighted in Florida than that, and we're a ways away yet before they come up here. Typically, the hummingbirds arrive about a month from now, about the middle of April.
Okay.
So we got another good month yet.
Yeah.
But now is a good time. You're waiting for you. Gosh, I can't really do much outside because it seems really mushy and wet on top of the surface of the soil. Now's a good time to get those hummingbird feeders cleaned and ready to go. If you need to get a new one, come in and get, I don't know how many we have, but I know several years ago I stopped counting when I hit 60 or 70 different models of hummingbird feeder.
Gary Miller, thank you, sir. We do appreciate it. Thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday morning at 8:30 for Nature Watch, brought to you by Waddell's Nursery Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is up next on WKZO.